We're here today to talk about the Sunshine Law so that all employees are aware of the Sunshine Law. Unless you are working directly with an advisory board, you don't need to be involved with the details of the Sunshine Law, but all county employees need to be aware. The Sunshine Law applies to our local government officials, our Board of County Commissioners, and our advisory boards. The Sunshine Law is based in Florida law and in the Florida Constitution, and it establishes a basic right of access to most meetings of boards, commissions, and other governing bodies of state and local government agencies or authorities. The Sunshine Law applies whenever is applicable to any gathering, whether formal or casual, where two or more members of the same board or commission meet to discuss some matter on which foreseeable action will be taken by the public board or commission. What does this mean? This means if two or more commissioners meet to discuss an item that will come before the Board of County Commissioners, or two advisory board members meet to discuss something that will come before their advisory board, that the meeting must be held in compliance with the Sunshine Law. There are three basic requirements of the Sunshine Law. First, meetings of the public boards must be open to the public. Reasonable notice of the meetings must be given, and minutes of the meeting must be taken. The public must be allowed to attend the meetings, and the location must be accessible and of sufficient size for the turnout. The meeting must be held at a facility that does not discriminate based on age, race, or any other protected class, and public access cannot be unreasonably restricted. You'll notice from watching our BCC meetings that the public is given an opportunity to be heard on any proposition or action before the board takes a vote. This has always been county policy, but it's been newly added to the Florida statutes to require boards to give the public an opportunity to be heard. Reasonable notice means the meetings should be publicly advertised for at least 72 hours before the meeting. Minutes of the meeting are required. Written minutes must be taken and made available promptly. The meetings can also be recorded, even televised. However, written minutes are still required. The Sunshine Law also applies to decision-making committees, which are known as advisory boards or advisory committees in Collier County. If you are working with an advisory board in Collier County, you will become more familiar with the Sunshine Law. And you'll need to make your advisory board members aware that they may not discuss a matter that may foreseeably come before their board unless they are speaking at a publicly noticed meeting. Advisory board members must strictly adhere to all aspects of the Sunshine Law. And I work with a number of advisory boards, including the Tourist Development Council and our Coastal Advisory Committee. And I remind my members, no pre and post meetings, discussions, no private conversations on the dais, that the members should avoid texting on the dais, and members may not use non-members as liaisons between board members. This is important for staff in case you have two board members and they're trying to communicate outside of the sunshine. Don't become a liaison between the board members and share information that is required to be shared in public. The Sunshine Law applies to public records and emails as well. That means you cannot correspond with another advisory board member via email. Any two-way communication has to take place in public at a public meeting, which is publicly noticed with minutes taken. This is a little Sunshine Law humor. Again, I mentioned written correspondence. Two-way communication must be done in the sunshine. Sometimes a board member may have information that he or she wants to share prior to the meeting. What I recommend is that the board member send the document to the staff liaison, and the staff liaison will then forward the information to all other members of the committee. Each email should include a reminder that says this is a one-way communication. Please do not respond to this communication. Again, if you're a staff member working with an advisory committee, we'll go over this with you in greater detail. But I want you to be aware when you're starting your jobs here in Collier County that the Sunshine Law applies, and it's something that we all need to be mindful of each day. Some advisory board members may conduct inspection trips. This is on a very limited basis. If you're a staff member working with an advisory board, you'll need to work with the county attorney's office to set up the inspection trip. Members are allowed to participate by phone at a meeting, but there are strict requirements that need to be met. And the first requirement is that a quorum of the board must be physically present in the room. You can't use a member on the phone to make a quorum. And the group in the room needs to take a vote that the member is allowed to participate and that the absence is due to an extraordinary circumstance. There are Sunshine Law rules for staff to remember. The Sunshine Law does not apply to members of different boards. So if you're working with an advisory board, for example, the Coastal Advisory Board, one member of the Coastal Advisory Committee may meet with one member of the Tourist Development Council or of the Board of County Commissioners, because it does not apply to members of different boards. It only applies to members of the same board. It is a serious consequence for failure to comply with the Sunshine Law, and it can include criminal penalties. It may be a second-degree misdemeanor to knowingly violate the Sunshine Law, with a possible fine and up to 60 days imprisonment. That's why here at the County Attorney's Office, we like to remind all of our staff people to be aware of the basic requirements of the Sunshine Law. We don't want to find headlines in the Naples Daily News alleging violations of the Sunshine Law. Next, we'll talk about the Public Records Law. Again, this is state law, not merely county law, and it's based on the public's right to inspect or copy any public record. This is established in the Florida Constitution and Florida statutes. The definition of public records open to inspection to any person is very broad, and you will be surprised what constitutes a public record. A public record encompasses all materials made or received by an agency in connection with official business, which are used to perpetuate, communicate, or formalize knowledge, regardless of whether such materials are in final form. As a county employee, the Public Records Law applies to you, regardless of your position in the county. So all materials regarding official business are public records. And it's more than just documents. The definition includes documents, papers, letters, maps, books, tapes, photographs, etc., regardless of physical form and regardless of how they are kept by the agency. If the record is made or received in connection with transaction of official business, then the record is a public record. The Public Records Law applies to records developed by the Board of County Commissioners, by our advisory boards, and by employees, including yourselves. And it includes all types of records. One thing you need to be aware of, if it's not only a record in final form, it even includes draft documents. Now again, it's important to remember that these are records regarding official business. So if you have personal documents in your office, those personal documents would not become public records just because they're maintained in your office. But any documents regarding official business, regardless of where they're maintained, are public records. There are exemptions from disclosure, and the exemptions are specifically defined by statute. The county cannot add any exemptions to the list. For example, records prepared for litigation or in anticipation of litigation, those records are exempt from disclosure. You'll be surprised to learn that after the litigation is over, those documents become public records. Social Security numbers of our employees and former employees, those are exempt from disclosure. In sealed bids or proposals, there are specific rules that apply to the purchasing department. You may be surprised to learn that even your personnel file is a public record. Now, certain materials will be exempt because the legislature has specifically chosen to exempt them. For example, your Social Security number, as discussed. And for different types of employees, maybe your home address if you're a code enforcement investigator, and all medical information or protected healthcare information is also exempt. But any person can make a public records request and come into the county and ask to review your personnel file, for example. How do we make a public records request? Well, if you watch the Board of County Commissioners, you may see public records requests made right in our BCC meetings. Members of the public can ask members of the board for documents, and members of the board can ask other staff members for documents. And a person may visit your office depending on where you work, for example, in the Code Enforcement Department or Domestic Animal Services, and ask for records. A public records request can be made verbally or in writing by any person. And as a staff person, you'll need to specifically work with your department to find out what is the chain of command for responding to public records requests. But generally, county staff has a reasonable time to respond. That means you can't put an artificial time frame on it and say, we only respond to public records requests on Fridays, for example. We need to say, we need to actually consider how long it takes to respond to the public records request. And we need to respond as soon as is possible. County staff can charge for the cost of retrieving records if the amount of records is voluminous, and the county can charge 15 cents per page. We have a resolution on point that gives guidance to staff people working on public records requests. Again, work with your department to determine who in your department is the appropriate person to respond to a public records request. When in doubt, or when a request is large, it should be handled through the county manager's office or working in conjunction with the county attorney's office. If there's any litigation involved in the public records request, then the county attorney's office must also be involved in reviewing the records. In addition, the county attorney's office will review records for any exemptions that may apply. We want to make sure it's the county's duty not to disclose information where there's a specific exemption in the Florida statute. For example, under the Domestic Animal Services laws, there is specific information that is exempt that the county cannot disclose to members of the public. Therefore, before responding to a public records request, Domestic Animal Services always contacts the county attorney's office, and we review the documents to make sure the appropriate information is redacted from the documents. The restrictions a public entity may place on records is very limited. Generally speaking, documents regarding official business are public records and must be provided to the requester when asked. The Public Records Law is also quite serious, and violations of the Public Records Act carries both criminal and civil penalties. It's important to know that when a person comes into your office to request a public record, you may not require the person to identify himself or herself, and you may not require the person to put the request in writing. If it is a voluminous request, you can work with the requester, perhaps make the list of documents yourself and ask the requester to review it. Then ask the requester, how may I contact you to get in touch with you when we have an idea of how to handle the public records request. Some requests are just a customer service request, hours of operation, policies or procedures that you have at your desk. But some are more complicated and require additional work. If there are any questions, feel free to work with your department, and always feel free to contact the county attorney's office with questions on the Public Records Law. Now we talk about tools for social networking: Facebook, Twitter, instant messaging, and YouTube. Be aware that the Sunshine Law and public records laws apply to these social networking tools. Here's some more social networking humor. Lost my Twitter. What I try to remind people and to impress upon new hires and advisory board members is if you are using Facebook or any of the other social media sites, if you put any information regarding your official public business on that site, you are, number one, creating a public record. And then that public record needs to be maintained by the custodian. Every public record, once maintained, once created, needs to be maintained in compliance with the records retention law, which is generally 6 or 7 years for a regular document. So if you're posting information on any of your social media sites, that information also needs to be maintained. My recommendation is to keep all of your social networking separate and apart from your county job. Here are some generic guidelines for social networking. Be aware and be thoughtful of your county job when you're using social networking. Again, use your best judgment, but my best advice is to keep your social networking completely separate from your job here in Collier County. Ethics laws. This is part 3 of our presentation. The ethics laws are found in the Florida statutes, a county ordinance, and our county CMAs, which are the policies and procedures that apply to county employees. Here are the 3 sources: Chapter 112 of the Florida statutes, county ordinance, and county CMA 5311. It is not enough to say, I didn't know. The ethics laws in Florida are very stringent, and the ethics laws in Collier County are more stringent than in any county in the state of Florida. The Florida statutes and the county ordinance apply to advisory board members, elected officials, and county employees. The CMA only applies to county employees. What is the Code of Ethics about? The Code of Ethics is to protect against conflicts of interest and to establish standards for the conduct of elected officials and government employees in situations where conflict may exist. What is a conflict of interest? A conflict of interest is a situation in which regard for a private interest tends to lead to a disregard of a public duty or interest. You have to be aware when working as a county employee that there is a high level of expectations. You remember our expression here in Collier County, exceed expectations. We need to put our county jobs first when we're at work. The Florida Code of Ethics addresses standards of conduct, voting conflicts, and financial disclosures. Don't worry, financial disclosures don't apply to county employees. That's for specific elected officials. But the Code of Ethics prohibits certain actions or conduct, and it requires certain disclosures to be made to the public. Really, what county employees need to worry about are the standards of conduct. Currently, we're talking about the Florida statutes. These are the 4 main standards of conduct that I've pulled that apply to county employees. Number 1, soliciting and accepting gifts. You may not solicit or accept anything of value that is based on an understanding that your vote, official action, or judgment would be influenced by the gift. Now, this is Florida law. Florida law allows limited gifts. What you need to know about Collier County is we have a $0 gift limit. So when you read this language, it says may not solicit or accept anything of value. We mean anything. We mean a bottle of water or a plate of cookies. You may not receive gifts if the gift is given with the understanding that your vote, your official action, or your judgment would be influenced by such a gift. Number 2, accepting unauthorized compensation. Same thing, really. You may not accept any compensation, payment, or anything of value that is given to influence a vote or other official action. I'm trying to think of an example here. But certainly if you're working with the members of the public may try to give you a tip or a gift card. You absolutely may not accept that in Collier County. Again, we have a $0 gift limit. That's why we chose 0. It's really easy to remember. Misusing a public position, this is number 3. You may not corruptly use your official position to obtain a special privilege for yourself or others. Really self-explanatory. You can't ask for a special privilege just because you're a county employee. And the last one, disclosing or using certain information. You may not disclose or use information not available to the public and obtained by reason of your public position for the personal benefit of yourself or for others. It's hard to imagine in the public records and sunshine law world what information is not available to the public, but you may work in an office that does long-range planning, and you may be aware of real estate transactions that may happen in the future. Clearly, they're not exempt from public disclosure, but they haven't been talked about at a board meeting yet. So you cannot use the information you've learned in your position to achieve some kind of personal benefit or a personal gain for yourself or for others. There are additional standards of conduct. These are found in the Florida statutes. So again, it applies statewide. And we've also adopted it into our county ordinance. The first one is doing business with one's agency. A public officer or employee acting in a private capacity shall not attempt to do business with the county where he or she serves as an officer or employee. This applies to a private business in which a public officer, employee, spouse, or child has a material interest. For example, if you run a t-shirt business in your private time, you may not attempt to sell those t-shirts to the county. You can't do business with the county once you're a county employee. Then the second one is engaging in conflicting employment or contractual relationship. A public officer may not be employed or contract with any business entity regulated by or doing business with his or her public agency. What we try to do is to keep your county employment separate from any private business enterprise you may have. This is a really fact-specific inquiry, and we need to know your county position, and then we need to know what kind of business you're engaged in outside of the county. Many times we recommend that any outside employment only take place outside of Collier County, for example, Lee County, to avoid any particular conflict of interest. Now, the county ethics ordinance is based on the Florida statutes. We've just gone through the Florida statute in pretty good detail. Now I'll go through the county ethics ordinance with you. Some of it may be repetitive, but we just want you to be aware of all of these requirements. It's really important in your work here as a county employee. Our Collier County Ethics Ordinance Statement of Policy provides that an individual covered by this article, and that includes our Board of County Commissioners, our advisory board members, and us as county employees, you shall not use your position as a public servant for unlawful gain or enrichment. Avoid conduct that gives the appearance of an impropriety in the performance of your public duties, and not accept anything of value, if the public servant knows or reasonably should have known that it was given with the intent to reward or influence you in the performance or non-performance of public duties. This is a fairly good reminder. No, thank you. This is what we say in my office all the time. Public officials are prohibited from accepting any gift or any other thing of monetary value from anyone that has an interest that may be substantially affected by the performance or non-performance of duties of a public official. It's sort of hard to imagine, but this ordinance has been interpreted so strictly that when members of the public have brought baked goods to a Collier County fire station or EMS station, we tell the fire department or the EMS department that they cannot accept that gift because the gift is given with the intent to reward that employee or that department, and it's simply not allowed in Collier County. There are, of course, limited exceptions that apply because every rule has exceptions. The exceptions that apply are gifts from relatives, unsolicited advertising or promotional materials. That means if you go to a seminar and they're handing out, Post-it notes or chip clips, you can accept those. They're unsolicited. Gifts for participation in a seminar, award of nominal commercial value. Nominal commercial value is defined in our ordinance as $50. So if you are speaking at a seminar, the award has to be less than $50. Or food or beverage offered to all attendees at a business meeting. This is the $25 rule. It used to be the $4 donut exception, but we've decided that based on inflation, it's really unreasonable to have a $4 exception, so it's a $25 rule. But it's very specific. Food or beverage offered to all attendees, every word is important, at a business meeting. That means if you are invited to attend or are required to attend in the course and scope of your employment, you may accept the lunch or the coffee and the donut. But you need to be careful because if a vendor is hosting the luncheon or a vendor is hosting the seminar, then you may not be able to accept even the lunch at the seminar. So you need to really work with the county attorney's office whenever you have an opportunity to attend a business meeting where there may be coffee and donuts or lunch. Call the county attorney's office and let's just run through it really quickly. The better advice is to just not accept anything. Clearly you're at a business meeting, there's coffee and donuts in the back room, everyone attending the meetings, eating and drinking, you're allowed to participate. Anything more than that, when in doubt, contact the county attorney's office and let's review it. There are post-employment restrictions when working in the county. These apply to high-level employees, the county manager, deputy county manager, county attorney, deputy county attorney. If you're holding a high-level position at the county and considering leaving, it's worth it to contact the county attorney's office. We'll look at the ordinance and the Florida statutes to make sure there are no post-employment restrictions that may apply to you. The standards of conduct we have incorporated from the Florida statutes. And again, we're going over and over this. Please don't think I'm being repetitive, but we want you to know that there are no gifts allowed in Collier County. No public servant shall accept a gift knowing that it was given with the intent to reward or influence you in the performance or non-performance of your duties. This includes Christmas time. If a vendor sends a gift to the county, you may not accept it, and your office needs to, if you can, stop the delivery person at the door and send the gift back, or if not, your office needs to make arrangements to have the gift returned to the vendor. You may not participate in the selection of a vendor or the approval of a contract if you have received a gift from someone representing the vendor, including a gift from relatives. So if you're asked to sit on a selection committee and you know the vendors, either you're related to them or they're close friends or neighbors, you need to talk to the purchasing department and make sure perhaps you're not the best person to sit on that selection committee. You can't participate in the permitting or inspection decisions if that employee has received a gift from the permit or inspection applicant, including gifts from relatives. You cannot accept anything of value from a lobbyist. And our lobbyists are pretty well versed on this in Collier County. It's unlikely that you would find one who may give you a gift. You may not solicit a contribution from another person or employee for a gift to an official superior or accept a gift from a subordinate. Okay, there is an exception to that rule, and that's holidays or occasions where it is customary to give a gift. However, we really recommend that employees refrain from pressuring coworkers to contribute to a gift for a supervisor. We recommend against it. Each department has its own policy. For example, in the county attorney's office, we do a potluck lunch for Christmas and a white elephant kind of a game where people may participate or they may choose not to participate. And this avoids any appearance of any impropriety in giving gifts to either supervisors or subordinates. There are penalties for violating the county ethics ordinance, which could carry jail time as well as fines. And the CMA, this is the third level of laws that apply to county employees. Remember, a violation of any of your CMAs, including the CMA on ethics, may lead to discipline up to and including termination. So since you're here today, I know you're learning about the standards of conduct, and I want you to keep in mind the code of ethics. County employees are prohibited from receiving any gifts or items of value. I know you're saying now, Colleen has said this 3 or 4 times today. However, people still call me and ask me the question. We have employees out in the field. Here's a great example. Parks and Rec employs VPK teachers. You know, we have VPK in the regular public schools in Collier County and across the state of Florida. But our VPK teachers, which is voluntary pre-kindergarten, they're county employees. So they can't accept gifts either. But you think about the teachers at the regular elementary school at Christmas, they get gifts. In Collier County, they're not allowed to accept them. This is how seriously we take our ethics ordinance. Be mindful that no 2 situations are alike. And so if you're faced with a question regarding the ethics ordinance, it goes back to my first slide. Don't say I didn't know. We're always available to work with you and to go through all of these questions, fact-specific, case by case, and talk to the county attorney's office so that we can help you work through any issues you may have. Again, my name is Colleen Green, so if you have any questions, feel free to contact the county attorney's office and ask for me. Thank you.